Hey guys, you know what? I got to somehow say Run and Hope Unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant, because I'm usually just chilling, and Hope usually is the one that always says this. I'm usually never the one that says it. She always comes in, and I'm over there getting a drink out of my thermos or something else and maybe cutting up a little bit. I don't want you to turn it or cut it off because Hope's not here. Go subscribe and to the podcast because that's the way we stay on. We don't ask any money or anything like this. We have sponsors, and the more people that sponsor it, the more we can do. So make sure that you go and subscribe to this podcast, and we want it to be a blessing to you. We want you to laugh. We want you to learn something, and it is unfiltered. It really is real, raw, and relevant. Just ask anybody that's been watching it for a while. Go back into the archive because the fact is we have a lot of fun. We banter a lot. We go back and forth, and there's nobody that I'd rather cut up with than Hope. She's not here. We're already over the holidays. We're on both different coasts doing our duties. Can't wait for everything God's going to do, and cannot wait for 2023 because I'm believing that what hasn't happened yet, God's going to fulfill it in this upcoming year. I always go into next believing it's going to be better than my last. That's just the way I live. So anyway, I want to let you know my better half is not here. She makes it a lot more fun. She makes it a lot more comical, but I'll do what I can to hold your attention. But I got somebody that is going to be coming in with me that I'm extremely excited about. We're going to be talking about his book. I don't need you to go anywhere because we're going to be talking about habits. Habits are the thing that create your life. You are not what you do occasionally. You are what you do habitually. Let me say that again. You are not what you do occasionally. You are what you do habitually. And if you study the life of anybody who's made a significant impact in the earth, I'm not just talking about rich, anybody who's made impact, they had very, very disciplined habits that were not compromised, were not negotiated, and were not up for discussion. There's a lot of discipline that comes into a habit because many times the habit that you have to move into is not something that you feel like doing. So you have to be able to discipline yourself to make decisions that may not even line up with feelings. However, it is good when you can get your passion behind your habit because that just makes you do it all the more and do it all the better. Well, I've got somebody who's been doing leadership a long time, who's been doing success teaching a long time, who's been doing life coaching a long time. He's in the kingdom. He's a pastor in Detroit as well as Louisville, Kentucky, Motor City Church. And not only that, but he's a life coach. He travels with John Maxwell. He is very well known in both arenas. And I'm fortunate that he's my friend. So maybe we can cut up a little bit, Dave. I just don't want it to be like me interviewing somebody because of their last book. We are great friends. We break bread together. We preach together. We've traveled together. We've had little vacations together. And I love him. I want you to give all of your attention when I bring him on, Dr. Dave Martin. Dave, come on up. Can I call you Dave?
You can call me well, it's better than what you normally call me. So
don't tell them that. That's too unfiltered.
I didn't know it said raw and unfiltered.
It's raw, but there's some things me and you know that's probably even too raw for this. But anyway, I hear where you are right now, it's kind of cold. Is that the case?
Yeah, it is. It's not California, that's for sure.
Are you in Louisville now or are you in Detroit?
Yeah, I'm in Louisville right now.
30 seconds. I know we're here about the book, but tell everybody what you're doing in Louisville. That's kind of an expansion for you.
Yeah, that's our second location. Of course, we started in Detroit. Of course, I was in Orlando, just living a great life, and then somehow upset God, and He told me to go to Detroit and start a church. And so we went to Detroit, planted a church on the Sunday that COVID hit, March 15th, 2020. Great day to start. And
you have ticked God off, haven't you?
Yeah. It was. One of my friends said he sent a whole pandemic to stop you. Yeah, that's how much God did not want you to. But the church is doing well there in Detroit. And then last year came down to Louisville, had an opportunity, a church here said, hey, take us, see what you can do with us. And so they became Motor City Church Louisville. and we've been about not quite a year yet, but it's doing well. And so we're excited. We're excited making it happen.
I'm surprised the church in Kentucky is not named Bourbon City Church. Isn't Tennessee's whiskey and Kentucky's bourbon, I think, isn't it? Am I right about that?
I don't know, Pastor Ron. I'm a Christian. And
you holiness.
I don't even take cough medicine because it has alcohol in it.
You know what? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something funny, raw and unfiltered. I was raised in an environment where if alcohol touched your lips, you were going to split the bowels of hell wide open. But every one of those little great grandmothers and church mothers who preached that stuff, if you ever got sick, they had a mason jar up in their counter. And I mean to tell you, they would start shoving this stuff down your throat and it would burn you all the way to your toes. I never knew till I was older what that stuff was. It was giving you whiskey.
It brought healing. Didn't it?
Anyway, they were going to drive that sickness out of you one way or the other. But anyway, you know what?
Well,
right here.
Kentucky is bourbon. Kentucky is the bourbon. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought I had it right.
Here's a fun fact. It's not in the Bible or anything, but there is 1.7 barrels of bourbon aging here for every one person. So there's like 4 million people that live in Kentucky. There's like 7.5 million bourbon barrels in the aging process. So it's pretty interesting.
That is an interesting to so is anybody sober in Kentucky?
It's a habit that you don't want to get started, I think. We're going to talk about habits.
We got Make That, Break That. It's a book about a lot of things. I have read some of it. I don't know about you, Dave, but I've had a lot of authors writing books and they've just been sending me so many books. I'm not a fast reader. Because I can't just read something, I have to study it. When I get through with a book, it's all marked up. It's ink everywhere, highlighters everywhere. I've tried to just sit and read books and enjoy them. I can't do it because I read something and then my mind gets working, and by the time I get through with it, I've done written in all the margins and everything. So I have read some of it, but when you kind of get me out of the pulpit with just straight word, I love talking about habits. I love talking about discipline. I love talking about thought life. And this book seems to deal with a little bit of all that. And I just want to make sure that I'm asking you the questions that allow you to speak along the terms of the book. It's by Dave Martin, Make That, Break That. If you don't have it yet, you need to get it. I guess people can get it on Amazon and pretty much anywhere books are sold, I would think.
Yeah, or davemartin.org. If they get it there, there's some other specials that they can get with it as well that'll kind of help walk them through it. Some master classes and things like that. So they get some extra stuff if they go to davemartin.org.
Got you. Very, very cool. Let me ask you this. You're sitting here, you're a few years younger than me, but you've got some time and some experience under your belt, and there's a million topics. Why this one?
Because I've found that habits make that or break. They make or break you. They make or break where you end up. So how to make habits and break habits are vital to success. I love to study successful people. I've spent thousands of hours studying people that, whether they were great on the baseball field, the battlefield, the business field, whatever field of life. And I found that each of them had habits. Your habits indicate, whether or not you're going to be successful in relationships, whether or not you're going to be successful in finances or in your personal health or your personal goals, whatever it may be. And so it's so vital that we understand habits. And so I said, you know what, I want to write about something that's going to help people become what they were created to be.
Let me ask you a question. You said, I've always told you, I said, you are an anomaly, an enigma to me because you are the most connected guy I have ever seen. I can bring up any name and you know them, you've been with them, you've done something. 2 or 3 of the people that maybe you've studied or got to evaluate their life that was most influential.
Jim Rohn
really
is someone that was, I never met him, but he became one of the greatest mentors in my life. Winston Churchill, someone that I've studied a lot, especially when it comes to leadership. And then, of course, John Maxwell has been not just a mentor, but a sponsor. he taught me that there's a level above mentorship, and that's sponsorship. And he's really been that to me. And so those are three people that in past, present, and that have been great impacts in my life, who I've studied their life and their habits and have learned so much from them.
I know my father studied Winston Churchill all the time. That was one of his favorite lives to study. He read about everything I think's ever been written about him. I just, I'm going to ask you some questions, and it may be a little bit off the topic of the book, but it all's going to come back to habits. What are the biggest hurdles to healthy habits? Why is it so difficult for some people to quote unquote get it together? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. There's some people, they could be so much more, but they are all over the place, and their day-to-day habits are sabotaging their gift, sabotaging their future. And sometimes it has eluded me as I've tried to mentor certain people. How is it you get these habits established in their life? Because if they don't establish them, they're not going anywhere.
Right. I think a lot of times what happens is they get so focused on trying to break the bad habits, right? That they can never come up with the good habits.
Wow.
There's a scripture. And what I love about the Bible is there's a scripture for everything. Romans 12:21, don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. So we're not just trying to break bad habits, which is what a lot of people do. I'm trying to quit that. I got to try to quit that. I got to try to quit eating that. I got to try to quit. Instead of creating new and better habits. So how do you overcome bad habits? You overcome them by creating new and better habits.
I like that.
And we get so focused on all the negatives, all the bad habits, all the wrong things, we never can focus on the new, better things, which we're here at the beginning of a brand new year, 2023, right. And we're encouraging people to develop some habits, right?
Right.
I look at myself and then I look at you. I said, one of my habits is I want to go to the gym a little bit more. I know people would look at me and think you probably want to look like me, but it's photoshopped. But I got to develop that habit. So what am I going to do? I got to overcome some other habits and excuses, which is a big one that people use. We can come up with all kind of excuses why I can't do that. I don't have time for this, or I'm not going to be able to make it to that. And put together these habits, because bad habits interrupt your life and they prevent you from accomplishing your goals. All of us have goals. We're here at the beginning of the year. People are making all these resolutions. I heard someone say that they were gonna start a bar and call it resolutions, and or it was going to be a gym, actually, a gym the first 2 weeks, and then it would turn into a bar for the rest of the year. But because most people break their resolution by the end of 2 weeks. They haven't got there anyway. But, bad habits, we jeopardize our health because of bad habits, mentally, physically. We waste time, we waste energy, but yet we still have these habits. How do we get rid of them, and how do we change them? And that's what the whole book is about. Make good habits, break the bad habits.
I got a sponsor right here, and I just need to take a minute. So don't click off right here, because I'm going to tell you the sponsors that we have are amazing, and Hope and I use them and use their products. So I just want to ask you something, okay? What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it checking on your credit score? Probably not. Well, at Chime, that's exactly what they do. And with their secure Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start to build credit with your own money. Did you hear that? With your own money. Chime reports your payments to the credit bureaus to help you build credit over time. Their members see an increase of almost 30 points on an average. All of this with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply, okay? So start your credit journey with Chime. Sign up, takes only 2 minutes, and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Ron and Hope. I'm going to say that again because you got to get it. Chime.com/Ron and Hope. That's chime.com/Ron and Hope. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank, N.A., pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa. credit card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some user scores may not improve. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply, except at MoneyPass ATMs and a 7-Eleven, or at Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Guys, we love our sponsors, and if you need to build your credit and do it through the day in, day out use of your own funds, all the while building your credit score, which will save you money in anything you do, any loan that you take out or borrowing that you make, you need to go check out Chime. Let me bring back Dave, because I want to get a little sentimental here. You were, I think if I heard you right, you were saying the way to break the bad habit is not focus on breaking the bad habit, create a good one. And creating good habits tend to have their own way of eliminating the bad ones. Did I hear you right when you said that?
Yeah, it's how do you overcome evil? You overcome evil with good.
That's
right?
Exactly right. You know, my dad, was just the best person. But my dad died very young. My dad died at 62. I'm already 54. And my dad died as a very young man. He was a bishop over a whole denomination in office when he passed. But my dad had terrible habits. Terrible habits. My dad never slept. Never. He had, and here's where I'm going. We have a lot of people, not everybody who watches Run and Hope Unfiltered, but a lot of people, are Christians, and a lot of people may even be in ministry. And the fact is, they feel like they're gifted and maybe anointed or empowered to do something great, but don't realize that every vision, David, has to have a vehicle. If I'm going to go to England, I better have a boat or an airplane, because a car is not going to get me there.
Right.
If I want to leave the East Coast and go back to West Coast, I probably don't need a moped. I need to get me some type of automobile. In other words, for every destination I want to arrive at, I have a vehicle that I have to build that'll get me there. To me, that vehicle is my daily habits. What say you? Right.
I mean, every one of us have this incredible God-given potential inside of us. And what you do, there's a great quote I'm trying to, the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. Right?
I love that.
The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. What are you doing on a daily basis? What success habits do the most successful people have? Psychologists say that up to 90% of our behavior is habitual, right? We just get up and we do the same thing from the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed. There's hundreds of little things you do every day, just habitually. I notice when I dry off after the shower, I drop the exact same way, start with this arm, move my way. It's a habit, right? How many times have you been driving to work on the day that you actually had a dentist appointment, but you were on the way to the dentist appointment, but you just drove straight to your office out of habit. Mm-hmm. And so hundreds of things every single day. I mean, the way you brush your teeth, the way you eat, all these things. And over the years, we've developed this set of firmly entrenched habits that determine how well every area of our life works. And so when there's an area of your work life that's not working well, maybe it's a habit that you need to look at of reinventing, from your job to your health. The good news is, I mean, habits help free up our mind, right? While our body is on automatic. It's why you can plan your whole day while you're in the shower, you know, because it's just automatic. It's a habit that allows you to plan things. But the bad news is that you can become locked into the unconscious self-defeating behaviors that we have, patterns that inhibit our growth. I was reading, I was up in Canada, in the Northern Territories, mm-hmm. and there's this road that's way up there. There's a sign that says, before you start down this road, just choose your rut wisely. So it's so cold up there. There's basically, two seasons. There's winter and there's July. And so the ground will thaw out for July, maybe a little bit, but it creates these ruts that are frozen the rest of the time. So they said, choose your rut wisely because you're going to be in it for the next 25 miles. And a lot of times that's what happens. We get in these ruts and we're stuck. And so we've got to choose our habits wisely because they're going to take us a long way. And so, yeah, you're so right. That's the vehicle to our success.
Yes, it's crazy how fast you can fall into a rut. Very fast. I had somebody one time at a leadership conference humiliated me, brought me up to do a illustration with me, and it was a leadership seminar. It was not a minister's seminar, and I was on the front row. They reached down and said, "Would you help me out, sir?" I said, "Sure." They handed up and said, "I just said, are you all right at spelling?" I said, I guess I went to public school. I guess I can spell. And he said, "I'm just going to give you some words to spell." He said, some of them are things, some of them are names, whatever. He said, Macintosh. I said, Macintosh. He said, here's a name, Macsherry. I said, I got a guy on my staff with that name. I said, that's McSherry. He said, McDonald's. I said, McDonald's. He said, you're doing good. He said, Machines. I said, McHine. He said, no, machine. He said, it took me 30 seconds to get your mind in a rut.
Wow.
And I sat there and said, he got me in a mode of thinking.
Yeah.
And in 20 or 30 seconds, I was mispronouncing words because I was already locked in to a habit. I was hearing what I wanted to hear, seeing what I wanted to see, and it was coming almost subconsciously to me. You've got something I extracted about 4 questions from the book, the parts that I have read. What role does self-discipline play in making or breaking bad habits? Because that's my big thing. I tell people all the time, I said, I don't care how gifted you are. If you have no discipline, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, it's everything. It's everything in making a habit or breaking a habit even is the discipline. Because we got to remind ourselves too, when we think of habits, most of the time people think of the bad things, right? It's like growing up, when I learned about sowing seed, I only learned about it on the bad side of it. You don't reap what you sow, boy. You do that. I never learned all the good part of it. Yep. I just learned the bad part of it. And the same with habits. We hear the word habit, we immediately think of all the negative things we're doing wrong instead of the good things that we can do, the great habits that we can develop. But whether you're developing a good habit, it's going to take discipline every day. And what I do to develop that kind of discipline is I set up systems to help me. If I want to develop a habit of eating healthier, well, I know if I eat an apple a day, right? Well, I'm going to forget to grab an apple. But if I set up a system where on the counter of the kitchen, right before I head out to the garage, there's a bowl there that has apples in it. Now I've helped discipline myself to also with the system to stop and pick up. I've got to eat the apple every day. So by setting up a system, I've created a way to stop, grab an apple and create a discipline. Same thing with breaking negative habits is changing that discipline to a positive, more productive habit. And so self-discipline is everything and it's one of the hardest things that we have to do is learn to discipline ourselves. But I think one of the best ways to do that, like I said, is setting up systems or accountability. I want to drink more water. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to tell my assistant, hey, I want you to make sure my water's continued. Stop by my office several times a day. Text me. Are you drinking your water? Are you drinking your water? I'm going to have water. I'm going to have everyone reminding me till I develop the habit and the discipline of drinking water. A friend of mine, very successful businessman, found himself spending too much time on social media. And during the week, he'd find too much time on social media. Now, there's a new in business psychology, there's a new term called AWP, which stands for absent while present. So we're talking about the number of people that are at work, but while they're there, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're absent while they're sitting in their chair. And that's so much less productivity that's happening.
Yeah.
But so you're not supposed to. Now, if you're on it right now, listening to us, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. But if not, you need to get back to work. Okay,
it's bad except for us. Yeah.
Yeah, except for us.
Dave, just to insert something right there, I read a report the other day. You know, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
True, definitely.
But anyway, I read it on some type of report, some type of news report, that out of an 8-hour day, employers are getting about 2 hours and 30 minutes of work because of social media and phones.
Yeah.
So they're paying them for 8, but they're getting about a true 2.5 hours of work. That is unreal.
Well, that's what this guy I'm talking about, to help break that habit from him, who's a CEO of the company. He has his assistant every Monday change his password and does not give him the new password until Friday at 5:00. So he cannot get into any of his own social medias all week until only on the weekends. So he has his assistant change his password, set a new password every weekend to help him until he can discipline himself to stay off social media during the week so he can get his work done.
You know, it reminds me of a scripture when the Bible is talking about the flesh and how we can't sow to the flesh. You know, that's corrupt. We got to sow to the spirit. This is what he said. He said, make no provision for it. What I hear in that guy is he's making no provision for it. In other words, he's removing opportunities. That's what I did. This is, a little bit more serious, not trying to go full-blown church here. But when I came out of high school, terrible porn addiction from a guy who I played football with, whose dad, back at that time, there were no phones. He just sold the stuff on the black market, had a whole basement, just thousands of these videos. So who do you think all the football team wanted to spend the night with after the football game? Well, yeah, we was 14, 15. We wanted to go to his house. Right. And but the long and short of it, I got saved my first year in college. But I had this thing, and man, I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I'd had a true, genuine, authentic experience with Jesus, but I also knew I had a problem. And I didn't want to go into hiding like most Christians do. If they got a habit they don't know how to break, they hide it. I didn't want to be that guy. And so here's what I did. It wasn't long after that I started getting asked to go preach and do youth camps and youth revivals and things like that. And I would have to go and stay in a hotel. Well, at that time, it was all pay-per-view. So here's what I started doing, Dave. I started calling the hotel before I would get there and tell them to remove the TV from the room.
Right.
And they were like, sir, we don't do that. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to the hotel down the street. Oh, well, if it means that much to you, we'll pull the TV out of it. But people say, I'm so disappointed. I thought you would have been freer than that. Well, I told them I don't know because I never gave it the opportunity. And some of the times, the way to break and overcome the bad habits is to shut the door on the thing. Because anytime Ron Carpenter's doing the wrong thing, it's because he put himself in a position to do the wrong thing. So remove the position, and a lot of times those doors will close by themselves.
And that's why it's also imperative that we increase our awareness of the long-term benefit of choosing the right thing.
Yep.
And you were aware of the long-term benefit of breaking that habit.
I got to break it.
So you went to what some people may say is an extreme. But you had to choose the productive habit over the unproductive one. Right. And so that's why you got to choose your habits wisely, because you're going to have these for the rest of your life. Exactly. And so whatever habit you've currently established, that's producing the current level that you're at. Whether it's in your spiritual walk or whether it's in your health or whether it's in your finances. You're talking about one of your sponsors there, and it was all about establishing credit. Well, I'm working on a book right now called Creating Your Own Economy.
Yes.
And understanding kingdom principles like you teach us all the time in the area of our finances, because debt keeps us so bound up. I always say debt is a monument to your impatience, right? It's proof you wanted something you haven't earned yet. Right. And so understanding how to break the habit of overspending that gets us bound up. And I'm not getting into the whole thing of good debt and bad debt and all that kind of thing, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But how to create habits that help us to save instead of spend. I mean, that's one of the biggest things in relationships, which I know you and Hope talk about it here on here a lot, is, someone's a spender, someone's a saver. Someone, and how do you develop those habits together to bring, higher levels of success? So you have to drop some habits. You're going to get to new levels this year in your life, new levels. You're going to, some bad habits of like not returning phone calls. Maybe that's a bad habit. Staying up too late. Maybe that's a bad habit. Eating fast food every day. Being late for your, that person that's always late. Yep. You could just, they're going to be late. They're always going to be late. Right. Spending more than you earn. And you replace those. Like my staff is required to return phone calls within 24 hours. Yep. If you get a phone call within 24 hours, replacing getting 8 hours of sleep, exercising 4 times a week, reading for an hour, giving 10% to God, all those, replacing those bad habits with new and better habits. And so I just got to believe that if we were to examine the day-to-day lives of the great people, when I look at people like you that have achieved so much and accomplished so much, I know there's so much more you want to do and that God has for you to do, but you've established habits. I know I've established habits in my life that have got me. It wasn't an accident. I didn't rub a rabbit's foot and get here. I created habits or that encouraged productivity rather than interfered with my productivity that got me to the place that I am today. And that's what successful people do. I mean, if it's, Lincoln or Ford or Addison, whatever, that if they were alive today, I doubt that they would have the habit of going home, turning on Netflix and binge watching 6 hours of something, or channel surfing until they fell asleep in their recliner. They had some different habits that allowed them to accomplish the things that they accomplished in life.
I saw, and I got to get to our next sponsor, but I saw a tweet from Elon Musk not too long ago, a few weeks ago now, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm out here in the Silicon Valley. He had a house out here for $39 million. He sold it and moved a couch into his office. And he said, I work 365 days a year and people still call me lucky.
Yeah. You're right.
So anyway, on to our next sponsor, and we love those guys too. Nutrafol. Nutrafol. You need to understand and get that name in your head and remember it because it's going to help you. Millions of Americans experience thinning hair. It's more than common. It's normal, but it's not openly talked about. So going through it can feel lonely and frustrating, but we're here to change that conversation. We want you to talk about Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. Did you hear that? #1 recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth thickness, visible scalp coverage for men and women. Did you know that there are multiple causes of thinning hair? Nutrafol is the hair growth supplement that goes beyond genetics to target stress, hormones, nutrition, metabolism, aging, and lifestyle factors that may be impacting your hair. Thinning is different for men and women. Nutrafol has multiple unique formulas for men and women to provide exactly what they need based on their biology and age. Every formula is physician formulated using natural medical grade ingredients for reliable results without any compromises. In their clinical studies, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after 6 months. Nutrafol is also trusted and recommended by over 3,000 top doctors. Here's what I want you to do. You can grow thicker, healthier hair and support our show as well by going to Nutrafol.com. Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code RAH, that would stand for Ron and Hope, RAH, to save $15 off your first month subscription. This is the best offer anywhere, and it's only available in the U.S. to customers for a limited time. Plus free shipping on every order. Get $15 off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code RAH. I use Nutrafol myself. I'm a customer. So pleased with it. Dave, I'm gonna bring you back. I got a couple of thoughts. We really only got about 5.5 minutes, so we're gonna have to think these thoughts quick.
Hold on, I'm trying to write that email address down.
You know what? You could be a poster child.
I was trying not to take it personal, like you made it was a sponsor just because I'm on here or something.
I didn't put the two together. You got that slick head, and I'm sitting here talking about growing hair over here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do take their supplements, and I just started, so I'm interested in seeing what happens here because they sure are getting a lot of press right now. Two thoughts real quick. You know, the Bible even talks about going to church. I think COVID broke a good habit in a lot of people. Yeah. Forsake not the assembling of yourselves together as some are in the habit of doing. Yeah. And we had good habits as Christians assembling together with the people of God for where we draw community and strength. And we have let COVID break that habit. And I'm trying to get these local church people to understand almost everybody has seen diminished physical attendance. Now, online numbers have exploded, but physical attendance has diminished. And a lot of times, some of the things we think are holy, here again, they're just habits. And going to church can also be a habit. Let me ask you this. I didn't see this in the book. Maybe it was in there. How valuable it can be to be self-aware. Because I think there's a lot of people that have clinically bad habits but don't know it. They don't realize that they tell me what they want to do in life, but don't realize their daily routine is never going to take them there. What can somebody do, Dave, and maybe you're just going to need to shoot from the hip, to track, you know, this is probably helping me, but this is probably hurting me. I think there's people that's doing things and don't know it's hurting them. You can't stay on social media 6 hours a day and move your life forward. You just can't do it. You sit there watching everybody else live their life, and while you're scrolling, you know. But some of this is just what can people do to self-study that this is helping me, but this is hurting me, and it needs to be changed.
Yeah, you know, being self-aware, like you said, is so vital. Bad habits are hard to break. Right? I mean, even Chicago said that in a song. You're a hard habit to break, right? Breaking a habit requires total focus. And so if I put my total focus on breaking a bad habit and in a reason, I got to get rid of I got to have a reason a motive for breaking that bad habit. So you can only break a strong habit when there's a strong reason, and you got to become self-aware of that reason why I've got to break this, or else it's going to destroy me. I mean, people felt, break the habit of smoking. They did so immediately. They were able to break the habit immediately. Maybe they tried for years and years, but when the doctor told them if they didn't, they were going to die, all of a sudden the motive
they had power
strong enough that immediately they were able to break the habit. Yep. So that's why I don't always recommend that people focus all their time and effort on breaking a bad habit, but instead, like the Bible says, how do you overcome evil? Overcome evil with good. So instead of suggesting people quit a non-productive habit, I like to encourage them to replace that non-productive habit with a productive one. Yeah. So we're here at the beginning of a new year. Ron, what if I had created 4 new habits this year? Okay. They say it takes about 66 days to create a habit. So people take 21 days, 32 days, whatever. The latest study, 66 days to create a habit. So if I created 1 new habit every quarter, that's 4. That gives me a little bit longer to make sure it's really ingrained in me. 4 brand new habits. Think where I would be at the end of 2023 if I created 4 new success habits this year that moved my life forward instead of backwards. If I just focus my time, instead of focusing on all these ones I need to break, I start focusing on productive ones that I could create that would move me in the right direction. So I go, okay, what do I want to see different this year in my life, in my finances, in my spiritual walk? Well, if it's my spiritual walk, Like you said, don't forsake the assembling of yourselves. We're better together.
Yep.
We're better. Just you in the room makes it better. You say, well, I just sit in the back. No one knows who I am. Just your face in that place made everything better.
Yep.
And so you getting there is important. So it's easy to trade in the unproductive habit of listening to music in the car and replace it with listening to a podcast. Like Unfiltered.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that's something that's easy that will help you be greater this year. Think what you could learn in those hours in the car.
Yep.
You'd have a whole university.
Yep.
They could get a become part of the vault, or listen to Unfiltered, whatever.
Yep.
And their life is going to be so much further at the end of the year than if they spend all that time listening to music every time they got in the car.
Exactly right. That's something I do. I have a 40 to an hour, depending on traffic, drive in and drive back every day. And people ask me, said, when do you do a lot of your studying? You seem like you're so busy administrative and traveling. I said, my downtime is prep time. So whenever I have downtime, very little of that downtime is entertainment. Most of that downtime is me somehow trying to self-improve myself in some way or another. We're a couple minutes over the allotted time. Dave, I want to give you just a second to tell everybody again the book, how they can get it, and what you offer, because you do a lot of different things, and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, good habits and bad habits always deliver results. And so I want to help you break some habits, make some new habits, develop better habits. Find it all in this book. Pastor Ron just had a copy of it. Make that, break that. Best way to get it is to go to davemartin.org. davemartin.org. Of course, it's available anywhere books are sold, but there I've got some free things that'll come with it when you order it at davemartin.org. Also, we've developed a masterclass where I'll take 8 sessions with you, videos. You get a workbook with it, and we'll walk you through this whole thing of developing here at the beginning of a brand new year, developing the habits that you need. We've just touched on some of it here. But that's what I love to do, help people reach their highest levels of success, whether it's speaking at a church, whether it's at a corporate event, wherever I can go. And I love writing books to help people. They go places I could never go. And so I love being a part of anything that Ron and Hope are doing. Although Hope didn't show up today. I think she's mad at me or doesn't like me or something. We'll pray for her. But but here, that's what we love to do.
Well,
and I know that's what you guys do every day.
I appreciate you so much. You're a great friend, a great colleague in the ministry. And guys, go out and get the book. We've been talking about it. You won't get there without good habits, and this will help you establish those habits. Dave, I appreciate you sharing this time with me. And you weathered that cold. I'm sorry God kicked you out of Florida and took you up there in the cold weather, but maybe one day he'll bring you back out and bring you to the promised land. You never know.
My rewards are in heaven, I guess.
Hey, guys, we love each and every one of you at Ron and Hope Unfiltered. God bless you. Have a great day.